So, in yesterday's video, someone noticed that the deck name for the deck list that I showed off for the normal rare event was normal rare event Hydralander, but there was no orbital Hydralander to be seen whatsoever in the deck list. Here's the story behind that. Yesterday I gave you also a quick rundown of what my thought process was going into a normal rare event like this, building a deck from scratch. I didn't tell you the full story more or less. The first thing that came to my mind when I looked at all the cards that were forbidden and stuff, I noticed Orbital Hydralander was not forbidden. Orbital Hydralander is, in my opinion, the best standalone main deck card that is in this format. It's a boss monster, you just slam it down, you apply pressure, it is good offensively, it is good defensively, it is much more than any deck can deal with, but the problem is getting 5 monsters in the grave with different names consistently. I struggled a lot building a deck around it, and I couldn't make a deck work in time for yesterday's video, but after someone wrote the comment and I forgot to change the deck name to the correct name more or less for the Pendulum Dragons deck, I thought maybe I have to give it one more try. So that's why we're sitting here, and I think I made it work. We're currently like 15-0 with this deck. It's pretty crazy. So if you want a deck that you can just farm the event with really quickly, this is going to work really well, and it's a lot of fun in the process. I know what you're thinking when you look at this. What kind of an abomination of a deck is this? What the heck is this? Why should I play this? Looks incredibly inconsistent. I tried it out, you know, I tested a lot of different things. Maybe not all of them, you always miss something that's out there, but I tried to take everything into consideration. Let me talk about this deck and explain you why I think it's not too bad, alright? The idea is we go second, first of all. We go second because a lot of the cards that work well with Hydralander and that do something when you put them in the grave, they interact well with your opponent. We have 3 win conditions in this deck. 3 win conditions. First one, Orbital Hydralander. We know this card. Just for our reminder or repetition, must be special summoned from your hand by having 5 or more monsters in your grave and no monsters in your grave with the same name. Once per turn, quick effect, you can send the top 3 cards from your deck to the grave as cost and then destroy 1 card on the field, non-targeting, on each turn. You must have at least 2 monsters in your grave and no monsters in your grave with the same name to activate and to resolve this effect. So there's a rule, whenever you build a deck with Hydralander, you cannot play monsters of multiple copies. So you have to play one of each monster in your deck, which makes deck building very, very interesting and a cool challenge, but also makes it very difficult. That is our first win condition. The second one being World Legacy Secret. We actually play Mech Knight monsters in this deck. And the reason I'll get to in a second, or how I got to this place even in the first place. But World Legacy Secret says when this card is activated, you can target a level 5 or higher monster in your grave, special summon it, but when this card leaves the field, destroy it, negate any opponent's monster's effect that activate in the same column as your Mech Knight monster. This works really well with a special Mech Knight that's called Indigo Eclipse. All the Mech Knights, of course, if 2 or more cards are in the same column, so column means in the same line more or less on the field, you can special summon this card. You can only special summon them once per turn, and once per turn for Indigo Eclipse, you can target 1 Mech Knight monster you control, move that target to another of your main monster zones. So you can move it around once per turn, which is really nice because once again, all the effects of opponent's monsters that activate in the same column as your Mech Knight monsters get negated. So you can effectively negate 2 monsters your opponent has with Indigo Eclipse when you summon it back with World Legacy Secret. But we obviously have to get Indigo Eclipse to the grave first, or summon it first and then link it off or something. We're able to do that. Well, we'll get to it in a moment. Let me talk about the third win condition. It's actually Orchestrion. So I thought that with Hydralander we have to play a lot of cards that put cards in the grave, and then we have to find cards that work well in the grave, right? And the Orcus cards are always in my mind at that point. But the problem with the Orcus cards is obviously Galatea, Dingirsu, Longirsu, all the good Orcus cards that we know are banned in the normal rare festival because they're super rare and ultra rares. Orchestrion is the next best target that we have for the Orcus monsters, and honestly, in this format, it's a pretty nice win condition. It's a Link 4 monster, first of all, so it's not the easiest to make. You won't make it every game, but you will make it sometimes. 2+ effect monsters, including an Orcus monster. This linked card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Very important line, first of all. Linked card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So this already makes it protected versus almost everything that's in this format. They would have to activate a card that shuffles or sends this card to the grave. You can target 3 of your banished machine monsters, shuffle them into the deck, and if you do the attack of any linked monsters your opponent controls, so that means any monster a link arrow either points to or a monster that is pointing towards another monster currently becomes 0. Also, their effects are negated, so you can easily OTK with this on your turn, right? You just put all of their monsters to 0 attack. All right, those are our 3 win conditions. The card that sort of sticks everything together, the card that makes this whole deck even work in the first place, our best power card. It's World Legacy Survivor. It's a card that I think I wanted to play in the TCG last year or the year before, but the World Legacy support is just not good enough to warrant playing this card. But it's sort of like a spell card Chaos Ruler, or like mini Grasslook Screener, you could say. Excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you do, add 1 excavated crawler, monster, or World Legacy card to your hand. Also send the remaining cards to the grave. Is already amazing, right? Just get 5 cards in the grave and add 1, basically being able to replace the Survivor, but get 4 cards in the grave in the process. Otherwise, shuffle all the excavated cards into the deck. For the rest of this turn, you can special summon monsters from the extra deck except link monsters. So it's not really a restriction for our deck, since we don't play Exceeds or anything. This card is amazing. This puts the monsters in the grave for Hydralander. And then what we tried to do is we tried to put a lot of cards in the grave, monsters in the grave, that do something when they're put in the grave. One of them being Wolf, for example. Just randomly playing a Wolf that's a 2/1 beater. If you mill it with World Legacy Survivor, giving you a link material, is really nice. Also, Squamata and Dragon. When you mill it with Survivor, you know, you can pop a back row your opponent has. So in this format, that's really, really good. It's just general card advantage. We also play Lee, the World Chalice Fairy, which on normal or special summon, this adds a World Chalice monster, which is World Legacy World Chalice, which is, by the way, both a World Legacy and World Chalice monster. So that's really nice. We can add it either by Survivor or by the Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. You add it from your deck to your hand, just getting card advantage. And if this card is in your grave, you can send 1 monster from your hand or field to the grave, add this card to your hand. You don't really play this card because it is sort of a combo enabler, as in the usual World Chalice deck in the TCG. But it is a card that, when you mill it with the World Legacy Survivor, you can put your Orcust cards that you have in your hand, your breaks more or less, or your World Legacy World Chalice in the grave, or even something like your World Legacy World Wand, which this is one of the best cards in the deck, get to it in a moment, to the grave, to get this card to the hand, to get basically double advantage. Get an effect from the card that you put to the grave from your hand, but also get a card to the hand that you can normal summon, and then add another card for card advantage. We also play Orcust cards, of course. Like I mentioned, we play Harp Horror, Nightmare, as well as Symbol Skeleton, all 3 of them. So when you mill them with your World Legacy Survivor, this already becomes a lot of advantage that you can generate. We also play 3 Danger Monsters. This was a very late addition to the deck. I felt like when we go second, we want a few more ways to get cards in the grave, to draw cards, to see more cards of our deck. Because sometimes, as you can see, we play a lot of cards that could be dead in our hand, right? A lot of breaks, more or less, but you have a lot of cards to get rid of them. But when you only have them, they're not really as good. For example, the Mech Knights, when your opponent doesn't have 2 cards in the same column, and you don't really have Spell and Traps, for example. Or all the World Legacy cards, right? On their own, they don't do a whole lot. But you have to draw them in conjunction with other cards to make them work. So that's why we play Dangers. We play 2 more generic non-engine monsters. If only your opponent controls a monster, it's this Ancient Warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it's a Cyber Dragon more or less. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. I felt like this was a very good generic go in second card that you can just slam on the field and apply pressure with. And then this one. I love this one. I didn't know this card before. The Vernal Dragon, Arius the Vernal Dragon. If this card is in your grave, you can set 1 level 5 or higher monster from your hand to the grave. So basically our entire deck. And once again, this is really good because we can put cards like World Chalice, World Legacy World Chalice, or World Wand in the grave. Special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and banish it. This actually is not too bad just to put it on your board going first even sometimes. Just because your opponent has to get rid of this somehow. It's a 2500 defense monster, and then they have to commit a lot to get rid of this monster, but then you can get rid of their stuff that they invested a lot of resources into. So I really like this card, and also, of course, when you go second, you mill this with Survivor. I mean, it's a free special summon. Who can complain about that? And then the World Legacy cards. So the World Legacy cards themselves, they're very, very weird. I don't really know how to explain it right, but they're just very weird. There's this card, World Legacy World Chalice, a level 5 monster. If a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, you can tribute this card, send that monster to the grave. Does this come up all the time? Not really. Actually, you only do this very rarely. If this face-up normal summoned card leaves the field, you can special summon 2 World Chalice monsters from your deck. So this would be a really good effect, but I also tried playing more World Chalice monsters, but it wasn't really too good. I felt like there were more bricks than anything, and this effect doesn't really come up too much. So you cannot really use this effect for this deck, but it doesn't really matter. The important effect is the second one. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the grave, you can banish this card from your grave, add 1 World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. So if you have this in the grave, you can actually add World Legacy Survivor on the following turn, making it really, really good. We also play World Armor. So when this card is special summoned or normal summoned, you can add a World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. So once again, you can add World Legacy Survivor if this is special summoned, for example, by World Legacy Secret. The other effect, honestly, I've never used, so I think it's pretty irrelevant. Then we play this one, World Legacy World Lands. So this one is actually very random and not too good. I only played this to have an additional World Legacy card to excavate for Survivor and to have an additional monster for Hydralander. But it has a somewhat cool effect. During damage calculation, if a link monster battles a monster, you can discard this card. The opponent's battling monster loses 3000 attack. So, you know, if you just put a link monster on the board, and I guess it's not too bad. But mainly, you can also special summon this with World Wand. So World Wand is the best card more or less in this deck. If this card is sent to the grave, you can special summon a World Legacy monster from your hand. So you can put this to the grave with Orchestrated Return, for example, which we'll get to in a moment, and also World Legacy Survivor, of course. You can banish this card from your grave and target a banished Orchest monster, special summon it, but you can only special summon Dark monsters. So this has both of the effects in this deck available to you. I thought about how we get the Orbital Hydralander to our hand consistently, right? We play Monster Reincarnation. Discard 1 card and target a monster in your grave, add it to your hand. We mill the Orbital Hydralander with the World Legacy Survivor, then we discard something like World Wand or any of the World Legacy monsters or any of the other cards that we rather want to mill, and then put our Hydralander back to our hand, getting us an additional monster to the grave while also getting the Hydralander from the grave. Orchestrated Return, one of the best cards. Send 1 Orchest or World Legacy monster from your hand or face-up field to the grave. Draw 2 cards. You know, very simple, gets you card advantage and just gets you going in the game. And then the last one, World Legacy Whispers. When this card is activated, you can target a level 5 or higher monster on the field. It gains 1000 attack, so you can also activate this in the damage step. Negate any opponent's spell effect that activates in the same column as a Magnet monster you control. So this sort of works in tandem with the Secret, although not being as good as the Secret because it doesn't put a monster on the board immediately. We also just sort of more or less play this because we can mill it with Survivor. So you do have to make the compromise to play a few cards that are not so good to draw, or just to have in your deck in general, I feel like, just to hit more cards with Survivor. But that is, like I said, the compromise that we have to make. Still, it's not too bad of a card sometimes, negating your opponent's spell effects with Indigo Eclipse or Whispers per se. It's not too bad. For the extra deck, it doesn't really matter. I don't want to talk about it for too long. I think the only important one is probably, once again, Track Black. I think this one's really good. Gets you to draw cards when you destroy stuff by battle. Everything else just doesn't really matter except for the Orchestrion, and then you have to play a triple burst so you can go into the Orchestrion with a Link 3 monster. Alright, this was already a very long deck profile. Let's get into some gameplay. Let's see how this deck works. I think this is a deck that you really need to see in action to sort of get an idea of what it can do. But yeah, it's been working really well for me. Let's see if this is going to be the show-off effect where we're just going to fail horribly in the gameplay now, or if we can just keep winning with it. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, we were sent to go second. We draw 2 Mech Knights, an Orcust Nightmare, Hydralander Secret. I swear these hands are so random. And it's also not the best hand, you know. Obviously, the card that we always want to see is Survivor. And we're playing versus Megalith. So this is already a good show-off, more or less, because we play against a meta-relevant deck, you could say. They tribute 2. What is this? I haven't even seen this. This card is tribute. If you tribute summon this card, the tribute must be dark. Alright, if this card is tributed by a card effect, sent to the grave, add this card from a graveyard to your hand. Alright, so they simply play this to get advantage back with your Megalith monsters. This hand doesn't really do a whole lot. Next time we can World Legacy Secrets back a Mech Knight monster. We could special summon this and just sit on the 3k booty, to be honest. That would be a possibility. And if they get rid of it, we can use the World Legacy Secret. We could normal summon the Green Horizon, then use Reincarnation on the Nightmare. That doesn't really do anything, right? Does it? I guess then we could mill something. It's difficult. I'm not too sure. We could normal summon the Green Horizon, attack into their monster, crash with ours, but use the effect because when this, when an attack is declared involving this card and an opponent's monster in this card's column, you can target a Mech Knight monster in your grave and add it back to your hand. So basically, we could add this back, get more advantage. Then use the Reincarnation, discard our Nightmare, get the Green Horizon back, but then we don't have a monster on the field to use the... Oh, we could use it on their monster. We could use the Orcus Nightmare on their monster and then get the World Legacy World Chalice in the grave for the following turn, so that on the following turn we could add the Survivor to our hand and potentially win with Hydralander. We could also then survive their turn by reviving our Green Horizon from the grave, should we need to. And you know what? I think honestly that's what we're gonna do, because this gives us the follow-up that we need, and this gives us a very secure way almost. Did I summon this in the wrong zone? We summoned it in the wrong zone. We could also do this, alright? I just found a new play. We could also do this. Oh my god, this is so... It's such a difficult deck to play. Alright, we could also do this. We could use the Nightmare here, which is what we're gonna do. We could send also a level 8 monster now. We could send a level 8 monster, make this 29. Run over their stuff. Use the World Wand, get back the Orcus Knight. This is what we're gonna do. This was the play after all, weirdly enough. Even though it was not the play I initially wanted to do, this was the play for sure. Right, now we can use the World Wand to summon back Orcus Nightmare from our banished pile. I mean, this was a really bad board by them as well. That was what we have to see here as well, but we don't care about that, obviously. We're just gonna attack over their stuff. Yeah, 100, that's nice. And then attack directly with our Orcus Nightmare. Then go into the main phase 2, and now we link off into anything. It doesn't really matter too much. We can do Code Talker, so that we can summon back the World Legacy... so that we can summon back our... Megalith monster, I'm saying. Our Mech Knight monster. And use the secrets to disrupt their place, should they have something. They only have 2 cards in hand, so I'm fairly confident that 1 monster negation should stop their turn. I mean, usually that's what should be the case. Yeah, I think that if we negate their... Alright, they have Inception. I have to read Inception for a moment. If this card is in your grave, you can send 1. Right, they can add it back to their hand. If it's in the grave. But they can also use it to ritual. So we know all of their cards. We know all the cards in their hand. They don't have a ritual monster right now. And the Inception can only summon incantation monsters. Right, and this one adds a ritual monster. We definitely want to use Secret here. And then Secret bring back the Mech Knight monster. I want to say Megalith monster all the time. The Mech Knight monster, negating their incantation monster, and this should basically secure the win for us. I feel like. Right? Because then on our turn, we can use Nightmare again. We can special summon our Orange, and then we already have a lot of monsters in the grave. I mean, I guess we also have to maybe draw something useful here. A monster or something that we can put into the grave. Okay, Thunderbird is... Is Thunderbird really that good? We don't really want to get rid of our Hydralander right now. Let's think. What could we do? I feel like if we just put these... The thing is, you have to keep in mind that once you summon Hydralander, the game is over. Like, there's no way you lose when Hydralander is on the field, I feel like, once. Because you mill cards, you get advantage, and everything gets rolling from there on. So we could go into a Link 3 monster here as well. Also go for Austrian. That's also something we have to see here. I will actually special summon this first, just so we have it, and then we're gonna go into a Link 3 monster. I feel like we're gonna go into Triple Burst Dragon. Yes, use it as 2 materials. Use this one because it has less attack. It's not as valuable to us right now. And then we use the Orcus Nightmare effect. We already have 3 monsters in the grave. Now we lose 1, so we have 2. That should work, right? We boost the attack of this because the Triple Burst will be... sent to the grave because we link it off. Now we use the Orcus Harp Horror in our grave. Use the effect, but then we only have 4 monsters in total. Maybe it's not too bad though. Maybe it's still fine. And now we could go... Alright, so there's multiple options. We could also... See, here's the thing now. We could go for Austrian. Destroy both of their monsters by battle. They don't really have anything left in their hand. And the Orcustrian is also really good. And then we would have the Hydralander for the follow-up. I think that's what we want to do, right? Yes. Rather keep the Hydralander in our hand. We will be able to special summon it next turn anyway. And secure the win that way. Our Orcustrian is also protected. We could shuffle back these 3 if we wanted to. And maybe we even want to, just because we want to get back the resources. Yes, shuffle back all 3. It doesn't even matter that... I mean, they're already at 0, so they won't lose anything. And then we just go into the battle phase. And attack their monsters. Yes. Alright, that works. I mean, I feel like they didn't open the best of hands. But still, maybe this was also just a nice replay to show off what the deck, you know, sort of can do. The first turn sometimes is really slow. So I think that's the biggest weakness of the deck. That when you go second and you... When you go second and you start, you don't really have a lot of turns turn 1, even though you're going second deck. So usually when you play a go in second deck, you want to have a lot of plays on your turn, or because you need to break their board, and then you sort of want to OTK them most of the time or set up your own thing and stuff. But our deck is kind of weird in that regard, where you don't really always are able to how do you say, like, apply a lot of pressure on your first turn, but then you slowly get rolling and everything just starts, yeah, it just starts happening. Alright, we could send the Orchestrion to the grave with the return and draw 2 cards. And that's honestly what we're going to do, because we can just summon this back with the Symbol Skeleton later on. Because now we can also draw, oh my, this is so good. We will actually summon the Orbital Hydralander first in case we mill 2, because that's always a danger you face when you play this card, that you mill 2 of the Hydralander, and then you can't summon it. Let's actually activate the World Legacy Survivor now, just so you can also see once how this looks when we resolve this. We have Dragon, we have this random one, so it's already really good because we can add something to our hand. Secret is obviously the best one to reveal because it just gets an additional interruption as well in the process. So now we can... No, we don't want to activate our Dragon, and now we can use the Symbol Skeleton in the grave, summoning back the Orchestrion. And then we can attack for game. Yes, summon this back. And attack for game. Alright. The beginning of the turn was... Well, not the turn, but the match was really difficult to play out. And I think I overthought it a bit too much. Instead of just, you know, keeping it simple and running over their monster and keeping the game state as simple as it could be. I wanted to try to make fancy plays. It was a good match to learn something, honestly. Do they make us go first or second? We're going first, alright. So, some people are playing going second decks after all. I mean, the Time Lord deck, I've mentioned this in the last video as well. The Time Lord deck, some people are on that. I don't know how many, but some. And it's not the worst, right? Alright, we can activate it, return. And we can activate return here. Get rid of World Wand. Unfortunately, we don't have any World Legacy monster in the hand. Oh, now we do. Nice. Drew into 1 with 3000 attack. That's already a pretty good start. You know, you can just summon this out. And then we can go for Card Trooper, which Card Trooper can mill 3 cards. Let's see, mill 3 cards. Which do we get? Alright, we mill the Lee, the World Chalice Fairy, I think. So that's not even too bad. That is not even too bad. Because we can use this later on. Get rid of a monster, get it back to our hand. Yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna end with. That's what we're gonna end with, and then on the following turn we are going to have we're gonna have 4 monsters in the grave. Maybe we want to activate the World Chalice Fairy now to add it back, and then we could actually... Wait, is there a way to... Yeah, there would be a way to also summon the Hydralander right now, which is to go for a Link 2, summon the Indigo Clips under the Link 2 and go for a Link 3 monster. And then summon the Hydralander. But is it really that good? Because if they have something like Chalice and they play a go in second deck, so I assume they play a lot of go in second cards as well, maybe it's not even too good. And this way, we have something that floats, because if Card Trooper is destroyed in any way, we draw a card. And we keep our cards a bit in the hand and all that good stuff. So, I feel like we're fine. I feel like we want to go to the end phase. And then whatever they put up, now that it's their turn, we're going to destroy with our Hydralander and get maximum advantage. Alright, they're going to set a card. Alright, they're playing Mech Knights. I can already tell you, they're definitely playing Mech Knights. Definitely. I can tell. The way they put their cards in the same column and they just set one card at the start of their turn, they're playing Mech Knights. They're also playing Kaijus apparently. Kaiju, alright. Crusadia. There's still a chance they play Mech Knights. There's still a chance for sure. Alright, they go for Link 2, the Regulex. Yeah, Crusadia also has a lot of cards legal, I feel like. They special summon. Oh my god. Are we just gonna get OTK'd? Maybe we should have summoned the Orbital Hydralander after. Oh, it wouldn't have done anything, right? Because we would have just gotten Kaiju, right? And then they would have still been able to run over the Link monster. Are we just dead? No, we're not, right? This is 6/6. We can draw a card now. Yes, they're gonna draw cards. That's fine. We're gonna draw cards. Scrap Recycler, that's really good, I feel like, because... Yeah, I mean... Why? Oh, only this can attack. Alright, that's pretty good, you know? I think now we're gonna win. I think now we're definitely going to win. We can discard the Chupacabra, because it doesn't really do a lot, and our cards in the hand are very valuable right now. Get this back. Then we want to normal summon this for sure, the World Chalice Fairy. For the reason that this adds our World Legacy World Chalice, which we can discard with Orchestrated Return. To draw more cards and get this in the grave for the follow-up once again. Use Orchestrated Return. Send this to the grave. Draw 2 cards. We draw this one. Well, what is this even called? World Armor. And this is also not too bad for us. We actually forgot to summon our Mech Knight monsters first. That was really, really bad. That was really, really bad. Whatever. Okay, so they probably have more Kaijus in hand, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, we definitely forgot to special summon the Mech Knight, because that hurts a bit. That really hurts a bit. So if we get rid of our Kaiju here, which we want to, because then this loses attack, we can... Yeah, let's do this first of all. Get rid of those 2. This will lose attack. We go into Track Black. We special summon... Oh, now... Oh, right. It was all calculated, because now we can special summon the Mech Knights. That makes sense. We're definitely going to special summon Indigo Eclipse, because Indigo Eclipse can move itself, so we don't care about the attack value going up. I also don't know yet... Oh, wait. What does this do? If a... Oh, no. Oh, no. They can add a... Oh, no. Oh, no. They can add a Crusadia Spell Trap now from their deck. That's not good. That was really badly played by us. Let's see. Crusadia. Alright, whatever. You know, I think... Is there a way for us to just OTK them? I really just want to OTK them, but I think it's going to be super difficult. We would need a second Hydralander somehow. But we don't get to draw cards anymore this turn. We're going to move this first of all. We're going to move this to a different zone. And then we can summon the Hydralander. So Hydralander could also mill us Orcus cards. Nice. Oh my god. That is such a good mill. That is such a good mill. We actually should have summoned the Hydralander in this zone, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I feel like we just get rid of their Kaiju. Exactly. Now we use the effect of this one. Put this in the grave. And then summon it back. Use the Track Black effect to make us draw when we destroy this by battle later. Yes. Then we want to go for the 10-year... There already is a way to OTK. I just don't know if they have anything face down that could potentially ruin our plan. And I actually misplayed because... I actually did a huge misplay. Because we could have gone for... We should have destroyed the back row for sure. Because we could go for Orcustrion anyway. And Orcustrion could make it so their Kaiju and their Crusadia monster lose all their attack. And then we could just OTK that way. Dude, this deck is killing me when it comes to the right, correct plays. It's so... the lines are so hard to see sometimes, I feel like. Alright, no, we go for Triple Burst Dragon. We're just gonna do this, alright? Yes, use this as 2 materials. Use this. summon this to this zone, and then we use the Nightmare and use it on our Hydralander. Make it 3,400. Send our Harp Horror, and then Harp Horror can summon the Symbol Skeleton. We also have the World one. Yeah, that's just game. Wow! That was crazy. Our Hydralander mill really got us out of there. Alright, we chose to go second. Our hand is... let's see. Is this good? It's not even too bad. Scrap Recycler can put something to the grave. We can draw some cards. We have Reincarnation. So all in all, it's not the best. The only thing is that it would be much better if one of these would be World Wand. Alright, Incantation. Once again, we've played versus this deck before quite a lot, honestly. This is... It seems like a really good deck, honestly. Okay, this is what they ended with. They ended with the Magician of Chaos. This deck is pretty good. I feel like it's a pretty good deck. Having this interruption and then on the following turn being able to, with your Incantation Engine, grind and go into the Blue Eyes Ritual Monster, it just feels really, really solid. So I think, yeah, this is also would be an interesting deck to craft maybe and try out. Alright, let's try this. We'll go for Return. I think with Return we would want to discard this one rather, because this one at least gives us an interruption possibly. So Return, and then... Is it a When effect or... Yeah, it's a When effect. So they would have to chain the Magician of Chaos to our effect. This is a really good draw. This is a really good draw, yeah. We could special summon this and then go for battle phase. Oh, but they can summon then the Blue Eyes monster, right? That's kinda awkward. We could put... Alright, I know what we're gonna do. This deck is so cool. Yo, I love that I see new lines every time I play this deck. I love it so much. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. We're actually going to normal summon our Scrap Recycler here. We're gonna put We're gonna put Nightmare to the grave. That's so cool. We put Nightmare to the grave. Nightmare targeting our Ancient Warrior, making it having 3,300 attack, putting World Wand in the grave, and then World Wand gets put to the grave. And because World Wand gets sent to the grave, you can summon the World Lands. So that's just so cool. Alright. Pew! It's the reason I think it's so cool is because in the TCG, like, you knew World Wand was always this Orcus card, right? It was always the Orcus card that was not really able to do anything else. So to see it to its full potential, more or less, that's just so cool to me. You know what? I'm even stupid. I'm actually very, very stupid. We could have added the World Armor with Reincarnation before, and then special summon the World Armor with World Wand, and then add the World Legacy Survivor as well and resolve this. So that would have been even better. But it is what it is now. Right, let's just do what we thought we wanted to do. We attack the Magician of Chaos with the World Lands, and then if they choose to summon... Yes, if they choose to summon the Ritual Monster from their hand, I feel like we can just run over it, right? Yeah, we can just run over it. Alright, that's how that works. And we attack directly. I feel like they shouldn't have summoned this, because that just got rid of their monster for no reason. Yeah, and they just scoop. Alright, these are my final thoughts. Being able to put the World Legacy cards with the Magnite cards and the Orbital Hydralander and World Legacy Survivor into one deck and somehow make it work is honestly somewhat of a dream come true, you could say, for me. I really like this archetype, or all of these archetypes rather. And just to see them in one deck is so cool to me. It's not an event where you have to worry about not winning your games as long as you play a cohesive strategy that sort of tries to, you know, follow a certain win condition and have your deck built in a way where you also achieve that win condition regularly. And I think that even in the replays, we didn't even resolve Survivor that many times. I think maybe not even once, to be honest. But that is sort of the challenge that you also want to face when you build a deck like this, that you want to be able to win your games even when you don't resolve or draw your best card in your deck. That's it from the preaching the deck building and how that's done. Hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think about the deck. Especially with this one, I'm really excited to hear your guys' opinion. Please don't be too harsh if you don't like the deck. Alright. I hope you guys loved it, and I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye.